Neuro-linguistic programming.
Oh
Yeah.
dear.
So the question is whether it does anything. And the short answer is it doesn't. It never has. And it's one of those ideas that survives through marketing rather than merit, isn't it? You know, the only remarkable thing about it, I suppose, is how long it's managed to cling on despite having absolutely nothing underneath it.
I mean, yeah, I know this is one of your least favourite topics, but most people just don't see that emptiness when they first come across it, do they? They don't see...
No.
They just see, I don't know, someone confident, enthusiastic, maybe who they would like to be, and somebody who's absolutely certain, I mean, so certain that they've discovered a kind of a shortcut to human change. And that's attractive, isn't it? People love that idea that they don't have to do any work or, put any effort into it. And then, of course, people assume with these certain claims that there must be some substance behind it, don't they?
Yeah, they do. I mean, certainly the only thing NLP ever has been good at producing is that certainty, I suppose. You know, because the thing is, if you strip away the performance and the jargon and the enthusiastic hand gestures, you're then left with nothing more than exercises that would struggle to pass. I mean, they'd struggle to pass as warm-ups in an entry-level communication course. And yet, people talk about it as if it's a breakthrough in cognitive science, and it's not even close.
Well, no, but people fall for it because it feels personal, don't they? I mean, if someone stands in front of them saying, you can change, and they're doing it with the certainty and the big gestures that you mentioned, that kind of attention or that, you know, that motivation, it's powerful. And I suppose it can make anything sound plausible, really, can't it? That level of certainty.
I mean, it can. But the thing is, the moment you challenge any of it, you get the same defensive lines from people, don't you? I mean, one of my favourites is, but the founders had psychology backgrounds. You know, as if the word psychology sprinkled anywhere near a name magically validates the entire circus. But it doesn't, because Bandler was a psychology student, not a clinical psychologist. Yeah, and Grinder was a linguistics professor.
Right.
Now, neither of those were conducting any rigorous psychological research. So, you know, you can spend 3 years studying psychology and still produce ideals that have no scientific merit. It happens all the time. You know, credentials don't sanctify nonsense in any way. Evidence does. Right. And the thing is, NLP doesn't have any.
You know, people cling to those backgrounds, don't they? Because, I mean, the actual techniques are kind of hard to defend, right?
They're massively hard to defend. Because when your material doesn't withstand scrutiny, you start waving around academic affiliations from 50 years ago. And it's a distraction. And, you know, I say this as someone who's looked at more NLP material than most behavioural psychologists.
You suffered for your art, didn't you?
I have suffered for my art, suffered for science. Because technically, I'm an NLP master practitioner. And I always feel the need to add that caveat.
It's very important. Oh, technically.
Because it's not something one wants attached to their name, really, is it? So I did the course on purpose, purely to see whether there was any substance hidden underneath all of the theatrics. Now, of course, I knew there wasn't, and then it was confirmed. There wasn't. What I do remember most vividly, though, is the rage I was feeling throughout the entire course. You know, it was this quiet, simmering, internal fury that lasted the entire duration of the course.
Oh my God.
And the thing is, it was like watching people applaud a magic trick when you already know there's a mirror behind the curtain.
Do you know what I would have actually paid to be there, just to watch you, just to see you suffering that. But it must have been just unbearable for you, sitting through that and then pretending to take it seriously at the same time.
Well, the pretending was actually the worst part. Every single exercise felt like being told to admire the emperor's new wardrobe, while everyone around me was nodding as if salvation was 5 minutes away, you know? And they'd introduce the technique as if it was the most groundbreaking thing that anybody had ever discovered. And then act surprised when people responded to nothing more than structured attention, because that's all it is, you know? Half the time, I actually wanted to stand up and ask whether anyone else had noticed nothing was happening. So the thing is, though, you know, nobody wanted the spell to break.
Well, no, they don't, do they? Because people really respond to that spell. And that's the thing, isn't it? The room feels optimistic. It's intoxicating. It's just, you know, if you're in a place where you need things to change quickly, that is going to pull you in.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Because, you know, NLP survives on that atmosphere. You know,
right.
If you removed that group energy and the theatrical delivery of the trainer, who always seems to be so excitable, there's definitely cocaine involved. The entire effect
allegedly
would vanish.
Just throw that in.
Okay, fine, allegedly. But there's definitely some sort of substance involved. Because nobody can be that upbeat and that energetic for 3 days in a row. And they're long days, you know, they're from 10 a.m. in the morning until 9 o'clock at night.
Oh,
but the thing
gross.
and then, of course, when you've got people that tired, of course, they're going to believe anything.
Of course.
It's standard brainwashing.
Oh, that's maybe the point.
But the thing is, people mistake the energy of the room for psychological change, and it's just not it. Humans are suggestible.
Right.
They want to feel that they've found a secret. That we want a secret lever. We definitely want to. It's human nature, and NLP tells them that that they've found this lever, and the fact that the lever doesn't actually exist is highly inconvenient for the brand. So they avoid actually mentioning it.
Oh dear, really? I mean, it's just awful because the techniques themselves are always the oddest parts, because they just look like, and I noticed this in a lot of therapeutic models actually, just like recycled fragments from other disciplines, you know, a bit of reframing, a bit of visualization, a bit of persuasion, all just kind of glued together and rebranded almost.
But this is the thing, renaming is actually their favorite trick, because they take something obvious, they rename it, and suddenly it looks proprietary. So mirroring becomes rapport building strategy. And, you know, changing perspectives becomes reframing. And, you know, interrupting a thought process becomes pattern interruption. And you sprinkle in a few stolen words from behavioural psychology, and people assume that they're encountering a serious discipline. But it's just human behaviour. It's dressed up as this intellectual revelation. And the thing is, the theft isn't accidental. You know, NLP, it survives by borrowing the vocabulary of legitimate behavioural psychology and using it as camouflage. So it steals terms like anchoring, reframing, calibration, states, modelling, all of which actually mean something in established disciplines. But NLP strips them of their technical meaning and uses them as branding nonsense, you know. It's actually, it's linguistic theft. That's exactly what it is. And, you know, the moment... It's true. I'm going to get triggered now.
I know, so triggered.
It's so funny. Trigger myself.
I don't know why on earth you chose this subject, given how you feel, but let's carry on.
Because I keep getting asked about it. I keep getting asked from clients, can we put NLP in our training? No, you can't. We're going to use real behavioural psychology. So the thing is that the moment people hear these words, they assume that there must be real science behind them.
Sure.
Because those words themselves sound familiar.
Yeah.
You know, they've heard them. They've heard psychologists use them.
Right.
And NLP trades on that familiarity. So it piggybacks on the credibility of the fields that it imitates. And the thing is, if you remove the borrowed language, then you're left with nothing.
I mean, and then, well, I suppose because the label sounds psychology adjacent, people must like assume it must be rooted in real neuroscience or psychology, right? They must do.
Yeah, but they do, and which is another lie by implication, because real behavioral psychologists and neuroscientists, I mean, they basically spend their entire lives wrestling with uncertainty, with limitations, with error margins, with contradictory data. They're constantly trying to actually disprove themselves rather than prove themselves. And NLP, and I think this is what people don't realize, that behavioral psychology, neuroscience, neuropsychology, all of these, the objective is not to prove something. The objective is to disprove something.
Right, exactly.
Because when you can no longer disprove it, then there must be something there.
Yes.
And the thing is that NLP pretends that the brain is a kind of a switchboard. And, you know, they've discovered which wire to pull. The arrogance is astonishing.
It really is. It really is.
The thing is, though, of all the claims they make, the one that enraged me the most, and of course, when you're in this course, you have to sit there as if, you know, there's divine revelation happening. But it's the one about eye movement. You know, the eye movement nonsense.
No. Go on.
Yeah, this is still the worst. So the thing is, if you look right, it's this, and if you look left, it's this. And
left is lie, right is truth, the recall. Yeah.
Yes. The thing, and it's been widely disproven. It's nonsense.
But people still quote it all the time.
They still teach it in NLP. They still teach it. It's part of the curriculum. Now,
oh my goodness.
Do you not think that if you could determine someone's inner state by the direction that they were glancing in, that you wouldn't replace behavioral psychologists with CCTV cameras?
Right.
It makes no sense.
Right.
Nobody serious believes it, but NLP trainers cling to it because it sounds neurological. It's nonsense.
That's just dreadful. Right? Also, if that was the case, then all anyone would need to do is learn not to look left or right, and then they would
exactly that.
Never be discovered as a liar. Like, I must make sure I'm looking right when I'm telling a lie. And I mean, I suppose people repeat it because it gives them like the illusion of insight, doesn't it? You know, because being told that you can read someone's mind from a glance makes you feel really powerful. Right?
But this is it. That's really interesting because NLP is built on this illusion of power. Because, you know, they tell you that you can influence people, that you can control people with all of the nonsense that they teach. You know, it's quick fixes and it's instant confidence and rapid transformation. You know, if somebody actually offered the medical equivalent of this, you know, let's say they say, well, one pill cures every condition.
Right.
You'd laugh in their face. You'd laugh in their face.
You'd say it's snake oil, wouldn't you? But
NLP sells the behavioral equivalent of that to rooms full of people. And it's not cheap either, you know. And, you know, another favourite as well is the Morabian theory. You know the Morabian theory?
No, please do.
Yeah, so it's a theory created by Albert Morabian. And it's a great theory, but it's just used wrong. It's not actually a communications theory at all. It's a likability theory. It says, well, no, it doesn't. Let me get this right. The Morabian theory does not say that 93% of all communication is non-verbal.
Oh, what not this one. Oh, God.
Yes.
I've just
So
remembered.
Albert Morabian basically did this research on likability, and he wanted to know whether the person on the stage was more likable because of the non-verbal communication. So, it's a very famous theory. But communications trainers and NLP in particular, NLP still teach this bullshit that they say that 93% of communication is nonverbal, which of course is absolute nonsense. Even Albert Morabian himself goes absolutely nuts when people use his research for this rubbish. But can you imagine that if 93% of communication was nonverbal, you'd be able to know what was going on the television if you had if you had it on mute. You wouldn't need to
Right.
learn another language because, it's only 7%.
Right.
Don't even get me started. Don't even get me started.
This is so funny.
I've triggered myself no end.
It's so funny. But yeah, no, that statistic, that 93% of all communication is nonverbal. I've even had that taught to me in various settings. Not
It's
where
wild.
I think you might
wild.
think really
Wild.
really is. And then like the harm begins then when people take it into therapeutic territory, right? Because
Right.
I see clients who've been told their trauma can be cleared. This actually does make me angry. No, you're going to trigger me as well. Their trauma can be cleared by NLP as well.
Yeah.
Like, it's actually outrageous. It's outrageous to make that claim.
It's despicable. It's actually despicable.
Truly.
And the thing is, because you're dealing with vulnerable people, they want something that they can latch onto and say, right, this is the holy grail.
Right.
But the thing is, trauma doesn't vanish because somebody spoke confidently at you. It's stupid, You don't erase fear with a linguistic trick.
I mean, you've
And
done
you
that to
don't
me a few
solve-
times. So.
Yeah, but I'm using real science behind that. I'm not using made-up shit. But the thing is, you don't solve grief by closing your eyes and imagining a different outcome, which is what NLP... It's basically manifesting,
Oh, God. You're double triggering yourself now.
Yeah, I know. This is going to get way out of hand. But these are complex psychological processes that are grounded in biology and experience. And NLP strips all of that away and replaces it with what is essentially a performance of absolutism and certainty. And when it predictably fails, which it will, the client is blamed. So you get this, and this is what happens with all kind of gurus and stuff. You see it with NLP, you see it with these finance gurus who, say, make £1 million overnight or 10x or whatever.
Yeah.
You're told you didn't engage,
Yes.
you didn't access the right state, you didn't put enough effort into it, you weren't fully committed, you weren't all in, all of these phrases. And it's completely appalling. No legitimate field treats failure as user error. They just don't.
Of course not. And also, again, it's so dangerous. That blame breaks people. I've had this before as well, from various models, not just NLP, where clients will come in because anxiety is resurfaced and they've had this other treatment and it's their own fault. And they walk away from that feeling defective because it's actually not them that's flawed, it's the method that was flawed from the start. But of course they believe, because that was already embedded in them, that they are the problem again because they can't apply it properly. Right?
Yeah, and once
so
that
awful.
feeling sets in, then the system pulls them in deeper. Maybe you need the next level. I don't know what's after master practitioner, master practitioner. Maybe you need a more advanced technique. There's always another layer, another certificate, another promise, more money. The entire structure relies on people thinking that the breakthrough is just one step away.
Right.
Do you not think if NLP ever genuinely worked, it wouldn't be shouted from the rooftops, and there would be no endless ladder needed to keep moving up the steps? It's basically Scientology.
You're right. Absolutely. Because it would just travel word of mouth if it was that brilliant.
Right, exactly. Move up the bridge,
Yeah, absolutely. When people ask why NLP feels effective, I tell them the truth. They're responding to attention, novelty, and certainty. And those three things, can make anyone feel kind of temporarily better, whether or not the method behind them is meaningful, especially when you've got childhood trauma,
But this is the bit that NLP devotees don't actually like, because it explains every "it really helped me" story without giving NLP any credit, So
Right.
when you tell people this is why it's working, nothing to do with the NLP, NLP people go, crazy over this.
Yeah.
The thing is, humans are primed to misattribute improvements. If you take someone who feels lost, give them an authority figure who speaks with absolute conviction, stick them in a room full of people who are nodding along, and tell them they're on the verge of a breakthrough, their nervous system is going to respond. So they get a surge of agency, a hit of possibility. It's a momentary lift. That's not NLP. It's expectancy. It's the same mechanism behind why people feel better after buying gym equipment that they're never going to use. They hope. But this is the thing is, hope gives you a temporary high, and people confuse that high with evidence that the method works. And of course, the other mechanism is relief, just relief. For many people, NLP is the first time anyone has ever spent structured time focusing on them, listening to them, validating them, and giving them a sense of direction. So they think the technique created that feeling when really it was just the interpersonal attention. And any competent manager, therapist, or friend could create the same effect without a single NLP exercise. But, humans link improvements to whatever was happening at that time, even when that link is completely meaningless.
It's just so interesting, isn't it? Because that misattribution is so powerful.
It is.
People do it all the time. Now you mention it, I'm thinking about it. We've talked about it before, but it's just so... Well, once someone feels better, even if it's briefly, they want to explain it. They want to know what it was. They want to know how to do it again, don't they? And if the only explanation they've been offered is the technique worked, they're going to accept it. Of course they will. And then because they need it so much, they defend it to the hilt.
Of course they defend it because they believe it, because to them, anecdotally, they've been told it has worked. The thing is, if NLP had been honest about that from the start, it would be harmless. Come along, have an energizing day, think about things differently for a moment. Fine. Absolutely fine. But that's not what happens. It's wrapped itself in this scientific language to give it the illusion of legitimacy. And once you start pretending that you're a scientific field, then you inherit the burden of evidence, whether you like it or not,
So true.
And NLP has never met that burden, nor even attempted to meet that burden, to be honest.
Goodness. It's a bit like motivational speakers, isn't it? You go in and you feel really good. You come out going, I can do everything. And then, So
and they have their place.
Oh, for sure. But it's knowing that place and boundarying that place and not... this magic beam.
Motivational speakers, not NLP. NLP has no place. Motivational speakers do have their place.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, but even then, that there has to be a massive handful of salt taken in it with the motivational speakers. But anyway, I was going to ask you, what do you think people should pay attention to if they're trying to decide whether something like this is worth taking seriously?
Well, look at how it behaves under scrutiny, Anything real gets stronger when it's examined.
True.
Whereas NLP weakens. Look at how people defend it. If the defense is enthusiasm or personal anecdote, that's not evidence,
No.
Ask what it does 3 months later, not on the day.
Yes.
Ask whether it survives outside of this workshop bubble. Ask whether the practitioner becomes defensive when questioned. And they do, always.
Of course, yeah.
And the more defensive they become, the more you're going, why are you getting so defensive? I'm only asking you questions. Because if they do, you have your answer then.
Absolutely. Actually, because when you and I discuss things and I question you, you just explain it. There's no defensiveness in it.
No, why would there be?
Well, exactly, because if it doesn't stand up, then it falls over and then we don't count it anymore. right?
Right.
That's how it works. Attachment theory. Anyway, I think when it comes to sort of change, people forget that the most useful change isn't glamorous at all, right? Because this is the thing about like the work I do as well. It takes time, and it's often slow and repetitive. But the difference is that if you do it and you engage in the process, it lasts.
Right. And
Right.
NLP is loud, it's loud. It's very loud. Whereas real change isn't loud.
No.
And of course, loud usually wins first, but not for long. Not for long.
No. Now, how are you feeling? Do you feel, I'm going to go therapist on you. Are you feeling a bit better? Do you feel better now? You've got that little rant off your chest?